on another episode on Pass Me the Mic. On today's episode, we have it's titled Edie and Laurie's Grad Journey as Full-Time Educators. I am Laurie.
Hi, I'm Edie, and today we're going to be talking about our experiences navigating graduate school while working full time. We're really excited to share our experiences, and we all hope that you can take something out of this, whether it's some tips and advice or anything that could probably help you on your own journey as well. With that being said, Lori, would you like to talk about your experience navigating graduate school?
Yes, I can go ahead and start. So just a little bit about myself. So yes, my name is Laurie. I am born and raised in here in East LA. Um, I am a product of the community college. Yeah, I am the product of community college and the transfer program. So I went to Pasadena City College, and from there I transferred to UC Riverside, where then I was kind of trying to figure out if I was gonna be pursuing higher education or whether I was just gonna stop there. Um, but what really, really pushed me to pursue higher education was really like my full-time job. So I currently work as a alumni counselor at a high school, in a charter school, in a charter district, out in East LA. So I do counseling a lot, but more in the K through 12 setting, not very much in like post-secondary, Um, which is weird because I am in a master's program that is really focused in higher ed and post-secondary, right? Um, so yeah, I'll talk a little bit about that later. But I just wanted to give a little bit of background in regards to like who I am, where I'm coming from. Aside from that, from being a full-time counselor at a high school, I am a success coach at a community college as well. So I do that aside from my full-time job. And I'm also a third year part-time graduate student. So my journey, you can already tell it's not linear, it's different. Definitely a lot of hiccups along this way, along this journey, wanting to pursue graduate school. And still here I am, which it's really impressive to still continue being here and still having the momentum that it's like, hey, like you're almost there, you're almost there. Like, look at us, like it's December and it's a couple of months of graduation. So it's definitely super exciting, but I think like coming into graduate school was very, very hard. I think my first semester as a full-time employee and as a full-time student. So I started the EC program as a full-time student first. It wasn't until my first semester that I realized that I wasn't able to manage my full-time job and my full-time status as a student, because I experienced a lot of like breakdowns, I experienced panic attacks, which I had never ever experienced. And I think it was because of like the stress that my body was going through. It was something very different, I'm a first gen college student, so obviously I am the first one experiencing this program, so like I really didn't know what I was getting myself into, I knew that it was going to be rigorous, but I just didn't know to what extent. And definitely, I think my first semester really gave me like, okay, like this is what I have to give myself. And I had to recognize, that I'm like, I can't leave my full-time job because of my obligations aside from me being a student, I'm also an adult, I support my family members, um, and especially currently right now, I feel like I can't as much as I would want to, like leave full-time my job because a lot of things are currently under my belt, under my back. So it's just that a lot of the obligations just really just requires me to be a full-time like a full-time employer, so really being a full-time student was just not the the idea for me, so I really had to make a decision and really talk to my academic advisor at the time. It was another advisor, not Janelle, the one that we currently have. I forgot the other advisor's name. But yeah, I communicated to her and let her know that I needed to yeah, I needed to, I don't know how to say it. Like, is it the status? Yeah, from being a full-time to a part-time student. So I wanted to make that change. And I wanted to see how it was going to impact me, and like how long it was going to prolong me, with all this idea of like me not knowing, and funny fact, and it's just a little side story, like, um, I think like coming as first gen, pursuing higher ed and especially pursuing a master's program, you really don't know what you're really coming into, and like with the little knowledge that I think I came in a lot with like with the mentality that it was just like, okay, like you have full autonomy of your schedule, but it's not to the extent as it is in undergrad, like I'm able to communicate to my professors, like I'm able to let them know, like, hey, this is my current situation. Like, is there a way for me to turn in an assignment late? So like there was a lot of things that I did not know my first year, my first semester, that I could have, avoided me um wanting to pursue the part-time route. Because if I'm being like fully transparent with you, I think that I could have done my program within 2 years. If I would have been a little bit more honest with myself, or even asking for grace from my professors and let them know, like, hey, this is my situation. I know that I know that I am gonna get my work done, but maybe me needing to be flexible of turning in some assignments late, because I think what I'm seeing now and what I'm realizing is that um I I feel like I just kind of don't belong either cohort, because I'm like in between. So like I'm not either with the previous class that I started and with the current cohort that I'm gonna graduate with, So there was like a lot of like my personal experience that came into play now that I'm just like, oh man, like I wonder if my experience could have looked a little bit different if I would have just pursued like a full-time student, and rather than being a part-time, because it definitely has its pros and cons, Um, but yeah, I don't know if that kind of explains or solidifies, yeah, like my kind of journey. Yeah.
No, yeah, thank you, Lori, for sharing. Um, Thank you for sharing, and also just thank you for being you super honest and transparent and vulnerable about, your experiences with um, just feeling overwhelmed and, also experiencing panic attacks.
Hmm.
So you work full time and you are a part-time student
Hmm.
and you're going to be graduating in the spring, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. That's so cool. And all 3 years you've been working part-time. And when did you start working your internship or your internships?
Um, So I started working my internships this year, in the month of April. Yes, that's when we started, April. Yes.
That's so awesome. Okay, I feel like me and Lori have talked a lot, like because we're working on different projects together. But I still learned a lot about you right now. I was like, wait, what? Oh, okay, this is so like I feel like I've heard your story, but I'm getting like a refresher.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lori. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah.
I'll talk a little bit about my experience as well.
Mhm.
So I'm also a proud product of the community college system. I went to LAVC and then I transferred to UCLA and I graduated and I went straight into my master's program. And for me, to be honest, I knew I had an option of being part-time or full-time, but I was I just really, really, really wanted it to be done in 2 years. I was like, I I just really, really wanted to be done in 2 years. And I also knew that I had to work full time because, like, similar to what Laurie said, I'm also an adult. I have a lot of responsibilities. Like, I do live on my own. So, I have to pay like rent and bills and, take care of myself. And besides that, I pay most of my tuition out of pocket. I don't get offered loans from the school because of my immigration status. I am a documented student. So I pay most of my tuition out of pocket. And besides that, I do have scholarships. I also have one fellowship. So, of course, that also helps me a lot. But it's still USC. So, she's super, super expensive. So, I knew going into this program that I had to work full time if I wanted to be able to go to the school, and I knew that I had to pay out of pocket. So I graduated from undergrad, and like shortly after that, I was hired from the same university. So I do work at a public 4-year university, and I've been working full time since then. And I love my job. But again, USC is super expensive. And I also just wanted to take advantage of, my graduate student title. So I did pick up an internship. I was working at my public 4-year institution, and then I was working at a community college because my goal has always been to work at a community college. So I definitely wanted to get experience there. And that was definitely very, very overwhelming to say the least. It was super, super overwhelming. And I don't think I would have survived working, 50 hours a week and being a full time student if it wasn't for I want to say everyone. One, because my full time job, to be honest, they're super flexible. They know that I'm a graduate student and they're very, very understanding. And then my internship at my community college, they were just so amazing, incredible people, super kind. That internship was also like on the slower side. My full time job is super high paced, and my internship was on the slower side. So whenever I went in, I felt like I could just breathe a little bit more. And then you touched a little bit on this, Laurie, regarding, asking for extensions. I did that from the beginning. Like from the beginning, I did that. I let my professors know, hey, I work full time. I would appreciate any grace, any any understanding. And I'm really, really, really lucky that every class that I've had, every professor has been super incredibly kind to me. And that's honestly the reason I have been able to work full time and be a full time student. Um, but even with the extensions, even with the grace and the kindness and the patience, it's still so incredibly hard. I've definitely had my share of panic attacks. I think spring semester, so spring 2023, was the hardest semester for me. I had I think like 3 panic attacks that during that whole semester. I think this semester, fall 2023, I have not had one, which I'm really, really happy about that. But spring was difficult. Spring was really hard for me. I currently don't have my internship at a community college, so I think that definitely helped. I'm not working 50 hours anymore. I'm working 40. So I think that helps. But yeah, spring was definitely really difficult for me. Um, but yeah, that's a little bit about myself and like my journey and why I wanted to work full time. Well, not wanted, why I needed to work full time. And to be honest, I definitely could have gone part time, but I'm a Taurus. I'm really stubborn. I'm like I wanna get it done in 2 years. Ultimately, I don't regret it at all. I do wish um I could have been a little bit more maybe kinder to myself and just taking care of myself a little bit better throughout this whole journey. But we live and learn, and if moving forward, I can only just continue to try to take care of myself a little bit more. But yeah, that's a little bit about my journey and why I need to work full time and why I decided to be a full time student.
Mhm. Well, thank you so much for sharing, Yridia. We're like, wow, like Miss Wonder Woman over here. Um, And just want to clarify, so you were working full time, and how many internships did you say you had?
So my first year I did, so I was working full time, but I was also doing one internship.
Uh-huh.
I left that internship. I left that internship in May, and that's when I did the internship with you during the summer.
Yes.
So I did that internship during the summer. And then once that internship ended, I told myself I cannot pick up another internship. And there is pressure to pick up internships because, you hear it all the time, like, oh, you're in graduate school, like network as much as possible, like meet new people, like get experience in different offices. But I
Mhm.
told myself I cannot pick up another internship. I wanted to, though. I really wanted to, but
Mhm.
I was like, my brain, like physically and mentally, I'm not gonna make it if I pick up another internship. Like by
Mhm.
the time summer ended, because we had summer classes and plus our internship that we did at that community college, plus working full time, like
Mhm.
I was not doing well. So I was like, I cannot pick up another internship, even though the pressure was there because we hear it all the time, like
Yeah.
work everywhere. But I was like, no, I'm gonna take a step back. And I'm glad I did. I'm glad I didn't pick up another internship.
Yeah.
And that's probably why I haven't had any panic attacks this fall semester. So that's good. That's good.
Yes, yes, that's definitely good, because I feel like, and thank you, actually, thank you so much for sharing, because I feel like oftentimes it's very hard, to talk about mental health and being vulnerable and like sharing this information, because it's not really talked, or you don't know if by you mentioning how the other, like how others are gonna reciprocate to it, Um, so yeah, thank you for sharing that. I did have a question for you, just based on what you shared. Is there now that you're in your second year, this is your first year just being a full-time student and being a full-time employee. Um, do you feel like there's something or that you're missing out on your current journey, in comparison to others, because it's very hard. And I think where I'm kind of like trying to like put my question together because it's very hard not to compare yourself to your peers, because of what you shared earlier, right?
Yeah.
You're often hearing and people talking about like, oh, I got hired here, I got hired there, I
Mhm.
got hired here. And like you're sitting there with discomfort. And I'm like, oh man, well, I do work full time and I do kind of have to give myself those pep talks, as in like, Lori, you have to understand that your own journey, it's your own journey and it's not going to look like the same as your peers.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, any like experience in that sense? And if yes, like, what is the advice that you have given to yourself or like that you would give, for example, to me, because I definitely feel like that's something that I'm like, it's an ongoing struggle thing for me because it's very hard, especially because of my background, and also working in the K through 12 setting. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, good question. So honestly, in the beginning, yes, like during the summer, like I again, because right now we have that graduate student title, and I feel like because we have that title, it is on the easier side to pick up like, internships and like different experiences with different offices. So during the summer, I was thinking about that a lot. Like I was contemplating that a lot and being like, it's just one more year. Like, let's just push through, pick up another internship. It's just one more year. Let's just do it, right? But I just literally physically and mentally I could not do it. I could not do it. And I think it's so important like for everyone whether you're going to graduate school or not I think this is how the quote goes, but like comparison is the thief of joy, and you just cannot compare yourself to others. Like you cannot compare yourself to others in any way at all. And for example, like the other night, I was having like the most wonderful night by myself in my house, chilling, not doing anything at all. And I was having a really, really good night. And then I get on my phone and I get on Instagram and I see that someone posts something where they're like, going out and like having a blast. And that made me feel bad. And I was comparing my night to their night when in reality, I didn't want to go out. I did not want to go out at all that night. But yet, I by just comparing my night to their night, like I felt bad, you know? Even though again, in reality, did I want to go out that night? No, not at all. I was happy just being at home. So I think starting there, like really not comparing yourself to anyone, to anyone's journey or experience. And I feel like we've had a similar conversation to this, like me and you. And the pep talk that I give myself is I know 100% that I have put in the work. Like I have put in so much work into this. I've put in so much work. I love what I do. So the passion is there. And I just know the opportunities that are meant for me are gonna find me. And I just know that. And I've told myself that so many times that I 100% believe it. So I right now, currently, like where I am in my headspace and just where I am in general, I don't regret picking up any extra internships. I am very happy with what I am doing right now. Um, and I know that springtime is going to come along, and I know that opportunities are going to open up. And again, it's because I have put in so much work. You know that you have put in so much work. Like everyone in our program is putting in a lot of work that I just know that the opportunities that are supposed to be for us are going to come knocking on our door this spring. And that's what I've told myself. Like once I got over like that bubble during the spring, during the summer where I was like, what am I doing? Should I pick up another internship? Like, what is the next move? I continue to have that pep talk. And that pep talk honestly took like about a month or two where I repeatedly had to tell myself, you are putting in the work, you're gonna be fine, it's gonna be good. Take care of yourself. Like take care of yourself. And honestly, like that's what I did because you just at a certain point, you just have to listen to your body. You have to listen to how you're truly doing. And if there's something that I've learned in like my 28 years of living is that I can really push myself to like an extreme limit, but that doesn't mean I need to. That doesn't mean I want to, and that doesn't mean that I should. Because myself, like my whole being, doesn't deserve that. Um, and I'm happy. I've made that realization, and it's something that I continue to work on because I think I'm a very extreme person where I'm like I don't go 50%, I don't go 70%, I don't go 100%, I go like 200%. And I'm trying to be okay with like 80% is good, 80% is good, 90% is good, like so it's a learning progress, but that's what I did. I gave myself a lot of pep talks and it's taken a while and it's going to continue to take a while because um even now I'm like yay, I'm graduating soon, like what's the next move, but I keep on telling myself no, opportunities are going to come up. Let's just enjoy the now and enjoy this because it's going to go by super fast, and then who knows, this might be the last time I'm ever in school, so I'm like let's really try to enjoy this. But yeah, that's what I did, like really give myself a lot of pep talks about that.
No, definitely. Thank you for sharing. I think I definitely resonated with a lot of things that you shared because they're definitely valid points. And yeah, I think you sharing that I know 100% that I have done the work, reminding yourself because it made such an impact when you said it, on me, and you're like, damn, that's true. And
Yeah.
then when you also shared like I'm an intense person that I'm not your 80%. I'm not gonna give you 100%. Like I'm 200% committed to this type of work. And it definitely shows, because this is not, I have not had you just in this class. We have been in class previously and we have been in like projects with each other. Um, so I definitely know that you give your 100, like you're committed, to the work that you do. And it shows. So thank you for sharing that. And yeah, I'll definitely give myself those pep talks and just remind myself, because I think that's sometimes like the hardest thing of like accepting that, that it's like, hey, like it's not gonna be 100% the way how you want it to be, and being okay with not being 100%, but I think it's much more easier said than actually like, okay, take it in, process it, digest it. Are you okay with it?
No, I
Yeah.
agree. And it's so real that it's always like easier said than done.
Yes.
That's I've definitely learned that along the way in
Mhm.
any journey that I've ever been in.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess I wanted to maybe ask a question, now that we've kind of talked about both of our experiences, we have both worked full time, have also done internships,
Mhm.
have been part-time students, full-time students. So I want to ask, how do you feel like you have been able to manage everything,
Mhm.
including like taking care of yourself? Or like,
I know. I'm
I
like,
know.
ah.
Yeah.
um,
Next question.
I think before we dive into this question,
Yeah.
I do want to go ahead and warn. I am a chillona, so I
Mm,
am gonna share a little bit more like personal, just because I think managing that's the hardest thing that I had ever come down to do in this journey, and I think to be frankly honest, these past 3 years, my health has not been well, and when you ask that question, I'm like, girl, I don't know. I'm still trying to learn how to manage that, because I think I'm taking the proper precaution to be um as aware as I can be on my health, and what I shared earlier, I think coming down to me being okay that I am not gonna be able to perform my 100%, and being okay with that, because I think coming as a person that it's very intense and wants to go above and beyond, it's a lot harder to take in than like for others, like a lot of the things. And maybe if this has happened to you, Yridia, or maybe it has not, but um I think like a lot of the things that I do on my to-do or in my on my daily routine could be like avoided based on the small scenarios that I create in my head, because of all the stress or everything that's kind of going on, because I'm thinking about one thing, I'm thinking about thing, because of coming as a person that it's like very organized, knows her responsibilities to like the T, to be on that I tell you that I dream about the things that I have to do. And
mm,
I think like that's not a good sign, but I'm like frankly like telling you like this is who I am, I'm still kind of learning, and I know like you said I am still a work in progress, and I'm taking the proper um like the proper guidelines, like me seeking out therapy, me seeing a therapist bi-weekly, I feel like it has helped me a lot with being okay with me, aside with everything else that's going on,
mm,
and like also the mentality, that I think I learned these past 2 years, going into my third year, that I know that I am gonna get the work done in my program. It's gonna get done somehow, some way. Yes, I might be behind, but I know it's gonna get work done, And I think it comes down to like, okay, my head, it's like I'm game time, like I'm gonna go ahead and give my 100%. I'm gonna go ahead and give it, like I said, like the same thing with my job, but I think if right now, I would say that as my fall semester, like you shared, 2020 spring 2023 was the hardest. I think for me, as a part-time, and aside from being a full-time, and now having the student success coach position, I think this has been like, at the way how I see it, the worst that I've been a student, like that I feel like as a student,
mhm.
you know
I
um
feel like I don't know. It makes me so sad to hear you say the worst like student, because definitely you're not Lori. Like I don't think anyone is a
Yeah.
worse student, especially when you're trying. When you're
Yeah.
showing up and you're trying and the assignments are getting turned in.
Yeah.
Um I definitely wouldn't say the worst. I wouldn't say worst student. It's just maybe like the most difficult or the most stressful semester. But
Yeah.
those are like the outside factors, the outside
Uh-huh.
factors, and that doesn't like define who you are as a student.
Yeah.
I think that's something like super important to to think about, and like rephrasing that, because it's definitely if anything, those outside factors of working full time and having your internship are making you a
Mhm.
stronger student and a stronger person. And we're almost done. I think we
Yeah.
have like a couple finals left and we're
Yeah.
done, and then we're gonna have a nice little break, and then
Yeah.
reaching our last semester, which is like
Yeah. Yeah, I know. No, and like I hear you, Yridia, because I'm a counselor, I shouldn't be talking to me about this, but I think it's just like you're very hard on yourself, and like I think it really speaks volume of like who you are, and like
Mhm.
I have like my own trauma growing on like with my educational journey, I've always had it very rough, and to see that I'm like, oh my God, I'm pursuing my master's program and I'm still struggling, it's like, but trying to get out of the mentality, it's also not good. But I just wanted to be like, yeah, that's how I feel, but like transparently, but I know that it's a work in progress. And yes, maybe reframing the way how I talk about myself, or like as soon as I hear that I'm gonna say something negative, like change it to something positive, because definitely there's a lot more positive in me than it is negative, but it's
100%.
much harder sometimes, because when they ask you like talk about yourself, because I'm like, I don't know what I'm good at, like
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, I feel you, Lori. I 100% resonate with that. I think we're all very extremely hard on ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, it's a work in progress. I think it's a lifelong, unfortunately, work in progress.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're gonna be having new experiences, even new employers, new people that we meet, new projects, and I think it's definitely easier to be hard on ourselves than actually see the good that we're doing. I think we're always just trying to do better.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that I'm also like not very good at, like just being happy with where I am and with what I'm doing and just constantly wanting to do better. Um, but like you said, it's a work in progress. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and if anything, I would definitely say just remembering to take a
Mm-hmm.
step back, look at all of what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
We are on a Sunday night. It is 10 p.m. and we are having this important conversation because we want to, but this is also like, it's a part of our final.
Yeah.
So we're showing up and we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. And I'm so glad that we're having this conversation. I definitely feel like this is definitely more than a final, so I'm thankful for that. Um, but yeah, I'm so proud of you, Lori. I really, really am.
Oh,
Um,
thank you.
yeah.
Thank you, Lydia.
We're doing our best, and we're doing amazing. We're doing amazing. I feel like it's hard to see um all of the great things until like the finish line. But I know the finish line is around the corner, but in the meantime, I feel like we just have to practice celebrating like any small progress, any small steps, any small wins. Like we gotta celebrate like anything. I'm always like I'm a big on that, like celebrate yourself, because I didn't really do that honestly until recently.
Mhm.
So I'm always just like celebrate it. We're gonna be finishing up this podcast, and we gotta celebrate that. We made
Yes.
it through We're gonna be making it through finals week, and it's like we gotta celebrate that too. So I definitely feel like that also helps.
Mhm.
We're almost at the end of our podcast episode. So I did want to maybe ask like one last question to both of us, which is, oh, actually, I don't think I answered how do I manage it?
Yeah,
Um,
no, that's what I was gonna ask. Yeah.
oh, okay. For myself, let's see, how do I manage it? I would say I think I touched a little bit on this, but I would say I manage it because of the people around me. Like both of all of my employers during my graduate experience have been very, very kind and very understanding that I'm in graduate school. And my professors, I have gotten lucky that in every class that I have taken, they have also been very understanding. And it that's also because from the beginning I try to be honest with them and be like, oh, and it's not me trying to make up an excuse, but
Mhm.
sometimes I show up to class and I look like I'm not doing well, and that's because I'm extremely tired, and I don't want that to come off as like rude, or come off as like, oh, I don't want to be there, but I'm just like really, 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 really tired. So I have to
Mhm.
be, transparent with them from the beginning and be like, I'm really tired because I work full time and I am a full time student, and all of these other things. And all of my professors have been incredibly understanding and very, very kind. So I think that's what helps me manage everything. And then, besides that, I think it's because I'm also just maybe because I'm also getting older. I've gotten a lot better at like just listening to my body and listening to just myself, and knowing when I have to like close my laptop, step
Mhm.
away, maybe take a little lap around my house, stick my head out the window, get some sunlight, anything. I've
Mhm.
gotten a lot better at doing that and respecting that, because before I would like feel myself like, going really, really hard and super to like extreme levels, and I would just continue to push. But unfortunately, that there was a time where that really affected like my mental and physical health. And after that moment, I was like, nope, that can never happen again.
Mhm.
So now I really like really truly listen to myself, and I'm like, you know what? Let's go have some water, or let's just take a step back from the screen, or let me call my sister real quick,
Mhm.
Um, and that's what I think, that's honestly how I've been able to manage it all. And to be honest, when you're grinding like we all do in graduate school, it goes by super fast, because I mean, like, I cannot believe that we're going to be done in like 4 to 5 months. Like, that's wild. And I know that these next 4 to 5 months are going to fly by. So I also feel like that also kind of helped me manage, where I'm just like on this roller coaster. It's going like 100 miles per hour, and it's super windy. I'm getting hit by some branches here and there, but we're
Yeah.
almost done. We're almost done. We're almost there. So I
Mhm.
think that's honestly how I've been able to like manage it all, with like, the people around me, and also just like really listening to myself, and like really taking like real breaks, like real breaks. But yeah, that's kind of how I do it. Um,
Yeah. No,
yeah.
that's really cool. I do want to say that I really admire your advocacy, like I feel like based on what you shared, you're very like adamant, as in like, okay, like I need to make sure that I am advocating for what I need in order for me to be okay with it. Um, and just yeah, just very, yeah, admired. Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Laurie. Um, okay, I feel like we are definitely at the almost at the end of our podcast. But before our podcast episode, but before we leave, I feel like we should maybe touch on like, not like necessarily the pros and cons of being like a part-time or full-time student, but or maybe like what advice we have for any folks who are interested in, joining a graduate program, and if they're maybe considering being like part-time or full-time, maybe like what advice we would give those folks.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, I'm not sure. If you want, I can like kick us off.
Yeah.
For me, I would honestly say if you don't have to work full time, like if you don't have to work full time, don't do it. I'm
Mhm.
like, if you really don't need to work full time, if you're okay financially, if you can maybe pick up two internships, get maybe like 10 hours here, 15 hours here, whatever, and you don't have to work full time,
Mhm.
don't do it. Like, try to enjoy this time,
Mhm.
enjoy it. You can make connections outside of work as well. There's conferences, there's like social meetups. So if you don't have to work full time, don't do it. If
Mhm.
you do have to work full time, consider being a part-time student. I know a lot of part-time students who are thriving, doing amazing. And I want to say one pro of being a part-time student, and I know some people might see it as a con because, like you mentioned, Lori, sometimes you don't know if you feel like you're a part of this cohort or you're a part of this other cohort. But I also see it as like you also have two different networks as well. That's
Mhm.
how I also see it as well. And if you decide to go that route of being like, working full time and being a part-time student, like please, 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 don't don't be shy. Like definitely like, step out of your comfort zone and make friends in both cohorts, in all of the cohorts. Cause I know there's some classmates who are have like a 3-year route, but some of them also have like 4 years or even 5 years. Like at the end of the day, like everyone also wants to be friends with everyone. Some people are a little bit shyer than others. So I
Mhm.
would just encourage you, if you are trying to work full time and be a part-time student, to just, step out of your comfort zone and like really make friends with as many people as possible. And then maybe the last thing that I would say, if you are trying to be a full-time student and work full-time like myself, is communicate with your professors. Like really just communicate with your professors. I think we are incredibly lucky at EC where we have faculty who understand that most of us are either working part-time or full-time, and they're incredibly, again, like very understanding. So just communicate with your professors from the beginning. If you get a professor and you notice that they're not that understanding, and you notice that perhaps you might have some trouble along the way, don't forget that your first week of the semester you can also shop around for classes.
Mhm.
If you feel like you're not going to vibe well with that professor, speak with your advisor and have them put you in a different class. So like Gloria was saying, like definitely advocate for yourself. You're all paying a lot of
Mhm.
money to be in this program. So advocate for yourself so you can have like a good experience and you can be able to take care of yourself like holistically in every way. But that's what I would say for me as far as like what I would like to leave you all with on this episode.
Yes. Thank you for sharing, Yridia. I think you gave definitely a good general advice for both either pursuing full-time or part-time student. I think something that I would go ahead and add is definitely emphasize the communication with your professors, because you never know um that they can actually set you up for success. For example, me, I really needed an internship position, and I just mentioned very general to my professor, hey professor, like, do you know if they're hiring like student success coach positions, and without even knowing, like 2 months after, I get an application saying like, hey, apply, and my professor last year, she is now my current boss, so it's a small world, so definitely having those options and those networking open, because you never know, higher education is very small, so chances are that the people around you are going to be people that you're going to be working with in the future, so definitely having that a relationship to being able to work with everyone. Everybody has different styles, and being flexible requires to be in this role, so like really, yeah, really lean to flexibility, really lean to your peers and really lean to your community, and yeah, don't be shy, never be shy, because chances are that maybe the questions that you're asking, others may have it, but you were the brave one to ask it, because there's never one thing, maybe you're gonna be the first one, but never doubt that um you ever like belong, because I could say something and it's like that room will be empty without you. So yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think I was just gonna go ahead and end it with that. That's the piece of advice that I will go ahead and give. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lori. That was really, really great. And yeah, we made it to the end of our episode, everyone. Thank you so
Yes.
much for tuning in. I'm just going to say our names one last time in case there's anyone listening who would maybe even like to connect with us and ask us more questions,
Yes.
regarding navigating our graduate journeys as full-time educators. Again, my name is Yridia Aybar.
And then I'm Lori Ugalde. Yes.
Awesome. Again, thank you so much, everyone. We hope you enjoyed our episode and
Yes.
have a great night.